we filled the Herbst Theater, which holds about 1,000 people, and we had to turn 300 people away for this film screening, which included the filmmakers and a lot of the people who were in the film. And the film was Aftermath, Unanswered Questions from 9/11. And the best thing about it was when you had 1,000 people together talking about it, giving you a standing ovation, it made it okay to talk about 9/11. And peace and justice groups came on board, but we broke the taboo. It was something that we could talk about. And then we did another big event. I organized the first citizens' inquiry into 9/11 in the United States. There had been one in Berlin, Germany, but I organized the San Francisco International Inquiry into 9/11, which took place over a few days, again, at the Herbst Theater in the War Memorial Building, and just to, open the space so that this is a subject that we could talk about, and brought together researchers, activists, documentary filmmakers, media people, and we got media coverage. We forced a response from the White House. It was at the same time that the 9/11 Commission was holding its hearings, which we considered it the cover-up commission because they weren't asking the big questions. They didn't touch areas that we were looking into. And so ours was a sort of a counter to the 9/11 Commission. But just by doing that, very, very publicly, we raised the taboo topics. And I mean, I still think it's a huge battle. It's almost like the Kennedy assassination, where they vilified people as grassy knoll, conspiracy theorists. I was so stunned when I was labeled a conspiracy theorist. I was taken aback. I should have known better, but I never realized how heavily we would be vilified and ridiculed in order to shut us up and to discredit us.
Well, that's how to silence and discredit people, and that is the common term now. That is the reflex that the system and the consciousness that is acting irresponsibly and coercively and criminally, that's what they do. I have a very tough question about some of what goes on in the 9/11 truth movement in different places. I'm going to give you a concrete example of something. I did an interview some months ago with Dr. Judy Wood, who spent 10 years, literally 10 years, on the forensic examination of what happened with the buildings at Ground Zero.
Right.
And I was attacked on forums at Alex Jones and other different sites and Amazon, and she was viciously attacked. One of the things that bothers me, and I'm going to be upfront about where I stand about it and clear it with you even on the show, which is that the dedicated people that have put themselves out to open up people's thinking about what happened, to re-examine this, to really look, to see that the supposed case that's closed and the story about this and what we've been presented actually isn't what happened. And I commend everybody for doing that. And the courage that it takes to do that, particularly all the years all of you have been doing it. And, I know that you spearheaded a lot of this, but what I've seen happen in the, quote, movement or in different areas of the movement is that people viciously attack people who come up with a different view of what unfolded. In fact, I don't see why, for example, it cannot be possible that there was advanced weaponry, some type of direct energy weapon used,
right,
as well as thermite and other things. Like, I don't see what is the big deal about multiple facets of an operation happening during this catastrophic series of events. So why I've stayed completely out of all of it is because I'm only interested in the examination of what happened and to continue to stay open to look. And I bless people that have given years of their lives to try to figure out, even forensically, like Dr. Judy Wood, what happened to these buildings. Someone gives 10 years of their lives to sort one question and then a full examination of all different aspects of it. I'm willing to listen to them.
Right.
But someone like her gets vilified and tormented inside the truth movement. And by the way, I'm not trying to tarnish or pollute the truth movement, but I'm saying to you that people get so invested in their take on what happened rather than blessing the other people who've come up with additional information that may not be their paradigm, may not be what they think, may not be their ultimate conclusion. Irrelevant. The fact is, it takes all of us to do our own groundwork to really get at what this is about and what happened on a factual level. And that's why I've had nothing to do with any of it.
I think you can offer the same criticisms of the left in general or the peace movement in general to some degree. They accuse them of always, okay, let's have a firing circle here where everybody shoots everybody else in the back. Because in the truth movement, you do see that. You see that anyone who becomes prominent or visible is a target and is attacked from anyone who bears any disagreement. And I'm not immune to that, too. I mean, I have been attacked and, ignored and vilified by people within and outside of the movement. It's easier to take the vilifications and the attacks from people outside the movement than it is from people within the movement who are supposed to be your allies. And unfortunately, it is a problem within the truth movement.
I mention it because whether it's the truth movement or whatever it is, if the same thing happens when you go to present information on climate change.
Right.
And I'm just going to tell you my quick position on this, and this is not about climate change, the show, but I'm just giving you an example inside of what happens, which is that for years I was like, global warming, global warming, global warming. It wasn't until I rolled up my sleeves and did a year and a half of groundwork did I sort what was going on for myself. Now, I continue to remain open because I love to learn. However, my whole stance, my whole understanding, my whole receptivity shifted when I started to develop a frame of reference and grounding for what even to look for and how to know, how to even discern what's being thrown at us. But if you start to talk sometimes to people who were invested the way I was, which is I just believed what I was told, and I'm telling you the truth, and I'm telling the audience the truth, and I've said this before, I just flat out believed it because I'm an environmental advocate, because I love the earth, people, animals, everything. So if you go to present new information or information that hasn't been properly introduced to people that already in their mind they've settled it, there's no space to evolve where you are. There's no more learning. There's no more receptivity. And once people take their positions, it is a political fight. So I only get involved to the extent that I will try to continue to bring different facets of the jewel of climate to the public that is receptive and still open to learning. And, you talked about it in politics. It's true also in anything related to environmentalism. That can become a thing too. We have to watch this, I think, all of us.
Yeah, it's not just the 9/11 truth movement. It's also the monetary reform movement. It's also the environmental movement. In fact, that's why my mentor, he was teaching the Social Movement Empowerment Project for 40 years to all activists. It wasn't just, it was even before 9/11 Truth even came on the scene. And I think, we have to learn how to dialogue. Actually, I'm going to go to a workshop this Wednesday by Jim Ruff, who teaches dynamic facilitation, and a friend of mine. Another one I'm really blessed. Like you.
Thank you.
I am open-minded, and I want to learn too, and I want to see the largest possible picture and understand what's going on a deep level. And I realize there's a lot of things that I don't know, and I haven't studied physics and science. I'm a college dropout, so I'm still open to new ideas and information. I don't have a rigid, this is the way it is. Anything outside of these lines, no way. One thing that I've learned is that dialogue is really important, where if you can go deeper and deeper to those questions that where you can acknowledge, I don't have the answer. And the only way we're going to have the answer to this is if everyone offers